Well, the holidays are just around the corner, and they are a peak season for fraud, scam artists, and cyber criminals. Now, last year, according to the FBI, more than 300,000 Americans were victims of cybercrime. And that's why it's important to be extra careful when shopping. Now, here to talk more about this is Michael Jabbara, the Global Head of Fraud Services at Visa. Michael, thanks for being here with us this morning. What would you say is the most important message you have for consumers at this time of year?
Well, thank you so much for having me. And the key message here is that we're seeing a lot of innovation on the fraudster side, where they're looking to take advantage of consumers during the peak holiday shopping season. And so cybersecurity has to be top of mind for both merchants and consumers, both for online and in-store shopping experience.
And Michael, how can we make ourselves aware and recognize these techniques that the bad guys are using?
I think that really the first key is to identify whenever you're being asked for sensitive or private information, especially in a virtual setting. That's where your fraud and security antenna should go up, and do a little extra diligence to ensure that the entity asking for that information is 100% legitimate. We've released the biannual threat report from Visa recently that showed that almost 3/4 of all large-scale fraud attacks and data breaches occur in the e-commerce channel, more often than not as a result of social engineering. Fraudsters tricking people into revealing information that they shouldn't have by posing as legitimate retailers or their financial institution. So validating who you're speaking with, especially in a virtual context, is key.
That's certainly important, Michael. What are some tips and tricks you have to avoid being scammed to begin with?
Absolutely. So when you're going shopping in-store, for instance, make sure that you're using a card that has a chip on it or that has the contactless symbol. That ensures that even if there were to be a data breach, your payment data will still continue to be protected. In terms of the online channel, make sure that you avoid using public Wi-Fi networks, or if you're going to use them through a VPN. Make sure that the retailers that you're shopping at online, their URL starts with HTTPS. That denotes that it's a secure connection where you're not being spoofed by criminals looking to steal your payment data.
So since so much business is done online these days, what can shoppers and businesses do to reduce the fraud this time of year?
Well, I've spoken a lot about kind of the innovation that's happening on the fraud side, but I also want to make sure that consumers know that they have a powerful ally on their side, and that's Visa. We've invested over $9 billion over the past 5 years on cybersecurity, both building up next-generation technologies and having a world-class fraud and cyber team that prevents billions of dollars in fraud on an annual basis. So you're not in it alone, but we all need to do our part. And so if you're a consumer, making sure that you're using the tools available to you to be proactive in your security defense, like signing up for transaction alerts so that you're aware whenever there's a fraudulent transaction on your account. And on the merchant side, doing something similar where you're adopting some of these technology innovations that we have in the market, like tokenization, which protects payment data even in the event of a breach.
Now, do you have any other advice that might help consumers avoid fraud this holiday season, Michael?
Well, really the key thing to remember is that the best defense is just common sense. If you find yourself in a situation where you have a funny feeling about it, you're not 100% sure, just going to take a step back and really validate whether this interaction makes sense or not. Are you being asked to make a payment in gift cards or through a wire transfer or through a peer-to-peer application? Are you being asked to click on a link using urgent messaging? Is the deal that popped into your inbox just too good to be true? If any of these things check off the list, that's a good indicator that you may be in a fraudulent experience.
A lot of great information, Michael. Where can folks watching go for more information?
They can find out more information about all the topics that we've discussed at visa.com/security.